The world stereotypes us, and while we may keep on complaining and saying, why is it happening, why is the world being so unfair to me, the reality is that stereotypes are part of life, and we have to understand and be able to deal. This is I think the external biases, but equally, while external biases we have to be aware of and know about them. We can't change the world. Okay, we can keep fighting, keep trying, keep telling people about how we are not what everybody else thinks we are, but it'll take a lot of time. I think what can change very clearly is our internal worldview of ourselves, our self-perceptions. And there I think the biggest thing that women need to change at every level is this whole imposter which is sitting inside them, who's concentrating on their weaknesses and not their strengths. I keep telling women that you have a critic sitting inside you, and you have a little cheerleader. Why don't you encourage the cheerleader to speak? Why do you listen to your critic all the time who's saying, oh, by luck you have got here, by chance only you are here, it's not because of anything that you did. So or if anything we do, we are constantly being focusing on the one thing that we did wrong. We'll do a fantastic presentation, but out of that one slide may not have gone the way we wanted, and we only will worry about that slide. We'll achieve great targets, but maybe out of the 12 months, 1 month you didn't achieve the targets, and you'll always be flailing yourself and in apologizing to your boss about the months that you didn't achieve the target. What about the 11 months that you did achieve your targets? Whereas the men are only concentrating on the big, on self praise and on saying how great they are. And I think increasingly in this world, when we are in this hybrid work model, so many of us are working out of home, we'll become more and more invisible. And I think that paradigm, again, that we have to be aware of, that increasingly sitting at home, we may like the hybrid work model, but it's going to make us more and more invisible. Absolutely. As it is, we don't talk about ourselves. As it is, we don't praise ourselves. For any of you who have watched Downton Abbey, what the Dowager Countess said, I liked very much. She said, I take most things as a compliment. I find it makes life much easier. Okay. From the comfortable distance of 35 years, I can look back and laugh at my adolescent self. Poor thing, she seems to have spent her teenage years mostly being either tongue-tied or shy, or moody and angry. A large part of those painful years, however, was spent being hopelessly mortified at everything around me. The old Fiat car my father drove, breaking down at awkward intervals, entailing all of us getting out and pushing it when we were all dressed in our finery. My sister laughing loudly in movie halls. My parents coming to meet my teachers at school, or me developing a football-sized sty on the day of my cousin's wedding in my eye. It is a medical fact that teenagers suffer from something known as cognitive distortion as a result of the mismatch in the development of different parts of their brains as they are growing up. This distortion results in exaggerated and unreasonable thoughts that cause them to misperceive reality and then subsequently feel bad. Every small thing that goes wrong, such as a sty in the eye, is either a catastrophe of huge proportions or it is a personal attack on their self. However, as teens grow into adulthood, the laggard part of the brain responsible for calm reasoning catches up with the fast-paced, anxious part, and things start falling into some semblance of peace and quiet. While this biological evolutionary theory seems to have explained everything very neatly, it appears as if the female brain misreading this, because it continues to suffer from heightened anxious brain syndrome despite moving deep into adulthood. What else can explain our peculiar penchant for always seeing things in the negative in ourselves rather than the positives, for concentrating on criticisms rather than praise, for seeing all flaws magnified manyfold in ourselves, and thus remaining acutely anxious most of the time? Certainly, I see a wide disparity in self-confidence between the male and female managers who have worked with me. A female manager will come out of a presentation and immediately start muttering about all the things she did wrong. She will filter out all the positives and retain only the mistakes she made. While the male manager usually swaggers out of such meetings, assured that he's just delivered the Gettysburg Address. I won't go through the whole chapter, but I want you to be aware of this, not only as an anecdote, but also as a research that has been repeatedly done. 2 years ago, there was a research that was done by McKinsey, which talked about the confidence that men and women have about themselves. Now, the same group of men and women at the same level with the same competencies and same feedback given to them by the organization were asked, how many of you believe you will reach the top? Some 79% of the men said they will reach the top. Only 56% of the women said they'll reach the top. Now, understand the organization had given them the same feedback. Then why is it that within ourselves we lack that confidence to tell ourselves that yes, we believe we will reach the top? And I think that is the other thing that I'm trying to counsel everybody through my books and in my talks, that, you please promote, you please advocate, you please build up the cheerleader who's inside you and keep on saying, great job done, Gauri, great job done, Chitra, and not the inner critic. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that women are not moving to the top.
Right. Confidence. In fact, I think another study said that when you're 30, the confidence levels of women are much lower than men. By 40, the gap starts narrowing. By 50, we are equal. And only after 50 do we become more confident. So I think that's why people say that after 50, women become kind of unmanageable and too much word used. That's because we don't care anymore, because completely grown to be confident individuals.
Correct. Whether married or unmarried, married women face some other biases. Oh, her mind will be, defocused. She'll not be able to concentrate. She's got small children, whatever. Unmarried women are again not prioritized or given importance to, because she has no commitments, as you very rightly said, including in jobs. Again, there was a research, and I'm again quoting only researchers, so it's not my personal opinion alone, that there was this research which said that when they asked men and women that, do you think they're equal? Yes, they're equal. Who has a right to a job? The man has more right to a job. If they're equal, how does the man have a more right to a job? But the fact is, that's what the research says, because everybody, the subconscious thing is, okay, man, he's running his family, he needs the salary, he needs the promotion, he needs the increase. Whereas women, especially single women, what will she? You make the single woman do more work because she doesn't have anything to go home to, but give her lesser salary. Why does she need more money? Which is actually, if you think about it in a rational manner, it's so unfair. It's so unfair. Now, how do you deal with it? I think the question is, how do you deal with it? So I feel, first of all, there is no reason to get emotional or hassled or anything. In a very calm and collected way, in a very fact-based manner, in your appraisal, you should put down why you believe that you need a promotion or increase in salary or a good increment, etc. People, if you say, I believe, no, I've been treated unfairly and all that, all the people become defensive, and it will switch off in their mind. They will not listen to your next sentence. However, if you say fact-based, if you look at it, in these many months, I achieved these numbers. In these many, all the good things that you have done. Many times we forget the good things we have done. Now, if you ask me in a job, I will not remember how well my team did. Broadly, I will have a perception, but genuinely what you did in last April, who remembers? So I think it is your job to, when you go in for an appraisal, make a note of the 8-9 good things you did, of the numbers you achieved, of the difficult clients, problems you resolved, and say, this is what I have done. Basis this, I have come to present my case that I need both a promotion or whatever you want, in a very calm and collected manner. I strongly believe MBA is being just used as a reason. I think after 10-15 years of working, nobody really, when we look for people, or when we look for promotions, I don't think any manager goes back and starts checking what your qualifications are. Okay. So I think it is definitely being used as an excuse. So what I think you need to do is you need to say, okay, if next time they say MBA, you say, okay, let us understand the skill sets of a leader. It is not about the MBA you did, or whether you studied in Harvard, or whether you, so you let us look at the skill sets of a leader. What are the skill sets required? Let us please articulate for me, what are the 5 things you require in a leader? Now let us evaluate me against those 5 skills. Do I have A, B, C, D, E? If I have, then where is the MBA fitting in? So you convert the conversation to say, please explain to me what are the 5 skills you require in your managers. And you please tell me where I'm lacking. I want to understand. No need to get defensive. You have to change the conversation to what is the actual thing. No, actual thing is, it's not about MBA. Hundreds of MBAs who are 0 as leaders. So you let us look at the skill set you need as a in leaders, and you tell me which of the skill set I'm missing. Then I will do something about it. Doing an MBA is not going to help me get the skill sets, no, that you want. So one is, first of all, don't worry too much about having to manage stakeholders. Okay. I think the first thing you have to do is, let's say you've transitioned to the next role. Okay. Now, what are the competencies and skill and talent that is required for that next role? Obviously, there's a lot of the functional skills, obviously you have, otherwise you would not have got that next role. So first of all, be assured and confident that you have the functional skills for the next roles. Now it is more about perception, and it is all about, how do I say, people should start, you should start believing that you are capable. And the very simple thing, people should start believing that you're capable. I'm focusing on this perception management and not the negative part of perception management, where I said, don't worry about, the sophisticated politics, because then, we get overwhelmed and we say, my God, it's so very manipulative. This is so manipulative here. This is this. And look how he smilingly stabbed me in the back, all that. Don't worry about the negative ramifications, but you have to worry about the positive part of perception management, which is, how does that person believe you're capable? I'm not going to worry about any politics. I'm just going to ensure people believe that I'm capable. Capability comes from functional skill. Capability comes from how you behave, and many women don't concentrate enough on their own body language. And I think this is a very, very important skill to have, as a lot of coaches will tell you, executive presence. You have executive presence when people enter a room. Like, I enter a room, invariably people stand up. I'm not doing anything. No, I'm not worked on. I'm not looking at them. Stand up. Invariably, people stand up. What? So what is it? So how is it? How you comport yourself? How are you? Not tentative in your body language. Not so many times when you will say something, Henna, isn't it so? Question mark. The sentences end in a question mark. Sentences come out tentatively. I believe A, B, C. I think ABC is right. Isn't it so? Very different, no? I believe ABC. I think ABC is right. Isn't it so? We go on trying to play that nice tentative role. No, I believe. Little more stronger, little more assertive. So one is body language. One is in your work itself, capability that you're showing. One is, what is the next layer? So we've moved to this level. How does, let's say we were vice president sales, now we are head of sales. So we have moved to that senior level. Now above us is the CEO. We have to also change our perspective of how the CEO looks at the scenario, the business. So if you can start thinking like the CEO. See, oftentimes what happens, functional heads keep on thinking only as a functional head. So my sales team versus marketing versus HR versus. So which is also, you have to, I think in Lady or the Boss only I've written about that the moment you have reached the CXO level, you have transitioned now from being a union leader to being the management person. We keep on wanting to be union leader. Then you'll always be seen as, okay, sales head only. But now you're the management person. You are the one who's got to balance sales at the same time see the organizational issues. So how are you seeing? How is your own perspective of the business changing? So three things. One is tentativeness of body language to be very, very different, to be far more strong, assertive, not aggressive, strong, assertive. The second thing is that you are no longer just the sales head. You are no longer just the sales head. It's not only you are no longer looking at me versus other departments. You are now looking at things from a larger perspective, how the CEO looks at the perspective. And the third thing is, do not worry about the politics and all of the situation. Ignore them. But the fact is that everybody suffers from it. Whether it's man, woman, child, everybody suffers from the imposter syndrome. And the imposter syndrome is basically inside of you. You're never as confident as you either project or the world is looking at you. Because I think all of us, and especially certain cultures, especially cultures like India, you remember how our parents brought us up, don't show off. Our parents would never praise us because that was called showing off. So when you're not allowed to show off, when nobody's complimenting you, nobody's praising you, and if you do something well, they said, theek hai. So they internally they may be proud, but they will never demonstrate it outside. And I think that has sort of worked on us so that we always, whatever happens, we are more easy. Whatever success we get, we either dismiss it or say, it must have happened by luck. It must have happened by good fortune. मैंने कुछ किया नहीं. It must have happened. So I think that is what imposter syndrome is, which all the time the world is telling, or you yourself are telling yourself that I'm not good enough. I think that is one place where we have to become more in tune with what genuinely has happened, more objective about ourselves. So I keep on trying to tell other women, myself, to remove all the layers. If inside of me I feel good, that my book sold so many, why should I not talk about it? And I think what Chitra said, that the thing of, if I talk about it, if I praise myself, I will be seen as showing off and not nice. Nice people don't praise themselves. Nice people don't. But okay, I will not praise myself, but why should I constantly criticize myself? So I think that to come to a real behavior, really, if you're feeling good about yourself inside, say. Really, you're feeling bad about yourself, say. Do not try to let there be no mismatch between your internal world and your external world. It happens to all of us. I think being competitive is something we were brought up with, saying that there is only the bell curve always says that, okay, only 10% can be in the top 25% kind of a thing, right? So we are trained from childhood to be for everything to be relative. Now, what I would say, first of all, all of us in the morning when we get up, we have that 5 minutes, 10 minutes when we are brushing our teeth and getting ready. That 5 minutes, 10 minutes sets the tone for the day. Just don't rush out and start running around. Most of us do that. Take that 5 minutes, 10 minutes when you're brushing your teeth to think about yourself, think about the day. And in that 5-10 minutes, if you can say, I'll do well. I want everybody around me to do well also. I want the whole world to succeed. I want my best friend to do well also. I want my worst enemy to do well also. Today, we have to all become like that. There is enough in the world to share with everybody. I want everybody to do well. I want today to go to work and ensure that I encourage everybody.
Wow.
Many times, because we are constantly thinking about ourselves, and now we are team leaders. When will we start thinking about our teams? Like I always, from very young, I became a CEO. Very young I was. Always it was more about my team. Not because I'm one Mother Teresa and very unselfish. The point is, if your team does well, you do well, no? So every time it's about your team. How can I help my team succeed? I will succeed naturally because of that. But it's not about my success, it's my team's success. They succeed, I will succeed. As you become more and more senior in your organizations, and you have to pull other women along. You have to pull other women along only, and you have to start not focusing on who will mentor me, who will guide me, who will I, but how will I mentor other people. I think that is one message I want you to keep at the back of your mind. The second thing is, when we are in a 20s and 30s, it's so much about comparing ourselves with others. It's so much about what our parents expected of us, what our families expected of us. As we grow up, become 30, 40 and 50, I think it has to be about what we expect of ourselves. We have to decide, and my last tip is that you decide what your measure of success is. The world should not tell you how you define success. You today write down, I measure my success with ABC, and against that you decide how well you have done. Again, the world should not decide. Word cannot decide whether you have succeeded or failed. On what parameters will you judge yourself? Only you should decide.